do. How are you doing? So, here we are. Just a quick follow-up on our disk drive dilemma. So everything's been off for a while. That works just dandy. Oh, right. It's a test disk. I thought I had the 1541 test demo disk, but I did not. I will run that in here. I'm sure it will be fine. It's all good. All good. All good. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do before I lose the screws would be to take the top and very carefully put it back on this 1541 tool. Put the screws back in. Might even screw them in. Usually they fall into place pretty nice, and you can just gently put them in place. Oh, hello. That one's not right. Sometimes they don't fall in nice. There we go. I always do them snugly, but not, you know, I don't want to reef on it. And of course there's that old saying, crank it in till it snaps, then back off half a turn. I don't think so. So there. That is working. And if I had a post-it note around here, I would mark it and say that I cleaned the head in March 2018. So here we have a 1541 with the power supply still inside. Not surprising, they made these forever. And the actual case for this disk drive has been used. Or not the actual, but this model, this kind of case, has been used on the 1541 and not the original 2031. Now here is a horrible thing. The screws did not come out. Anyway, as I was saying, it was used on the 2031, the 1541, the SFD 1001, I think the drive for the Plus 4, and God knows whatever else. I don't know how much it costs to, I guess, get the whole thing together for, I guess this would be some kind of infusion. Oh, there's a screw. But the other ones did not come. I do not want to drop them. I will try not to. the top. Unfortunately, somewhat yellowed. Now the screws, they're all kind of stayed in place. Oh. There are little plastic thingies here. Maybe they're not supposed to come out. But I would rather they come out when I can get them out. There's one. There's another. There's two. Because if I take them out when I can get them out, and when I want to, that means they don't have a chance to fall and get lost. Hello. Okay. It fell, but I got it. So they're all on top of the 1701. Oh. Oh, it's all coming back to me now. Right. See, I want to clean the head on this. As it seems now I have a vast collection of 1541's with dirty heads. But there's extra things to do on this. Because there's a great big metal shield. Now I can get at it, okay. It's funny, you know, that Pac-Man that did work. It worked the other day. I do not know why it has suddenly stopped, and now that it kills every drive it touches. But I am tempted to try again. But not before I do something somewhat radical. So, I'm at the head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn it over a bit, swipe it down, and then dry it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always need a place to put the dead Q-tips. Anyway, I was thinking what I might do with that disc, because obviously there's something squirrely with it, is I might slice it out of its jacket, or not jacket, of the thing that it's in. And then wash it ever so gently. Wash it in warm water, probably no soap, just warm water. And then hang it up to dry. Be very careful not to touch the spots on the disc that are, so I'll probably hang it from the middle for some while. And then putting it back in to a sleeve and trying it again. Let's see if that works. So I've just cleaned the head on this drive, which would not work, and it is working. It reads the scratch disc. I believe I left the test demo disc and the other drive. Yes, I did. And you know, this test demo thing, the performance test, you know, it's okay. It's not like earth-shattering in what it does, but it does give a good indication of what is what. I mean, if it won't pass the performance test, there's something wrong. I think I touched on a thing earlier that, you know, people like to put things on monitors and stuff, and sometimes they wouldn't work. I do remember a case of a guy came into Electronics 2001, which was on Yonge Street in Toronto, and he was having a heck of a time, and with his disk drive, and we didn't have his we didn't have his monitor, but we had one just like it, so he brought in a disk drive, insisting that it would not work. So I set it up, I tried it, worked just fine. But, and I said, okay, so where do you have it? And I don't remember, but I think he just had it on top of a 1701, and I said, well, how? Show me exactly where. And of course, then we tried it, and it didn't work. But, interesting, we moved it over maybe an inch or two, I think it was to the left, and tried again, and it worked just fine. So then we moved it back to the right an inch or two, and it wouldn't work. So anyway, I suggested that he not put it on top of the monitor, because of course it would affect his sound quality, and you know, there is some heat that comes up off the monitor, that might not help the drive either. But really, if that's where you wanted to put it, just make sure it was just a little bit over. And it was all good. And of course, as they say on the Speedy Muffler commercial, which is a place that sells mufflers and things, there was a commercial years ago about this guy who's got, oh my god, there's a noise. And they go in and they look, it was just a clamp. And then they say the magical thing, nope, charge. Anyway, yes, we did not charge the man to show him that if he just moved the disk drive over a little bit, it would be fine. So this is running through the test. Life is good, except I still do not have post-it notes here, but I suppose that can be remedied. It can. So, it's funny, Sheldon has not appeared. So anyway, what I'm going to do in this short thing, just to show that yes, indeedy, I can fix a disk drive, or clean a head, and not have it turn into a whole exercise, is then we'll put this one back together. As I look inside, it's funny, the first 1541's, the very, very first, were very much like this, in many ways. Oh, we're scratching things. Except the circuit board went right from the front to the back, as like literally it was the size of this, and then there's the great big metal thing that everything sits in, and this one works. Yeehaw. So, turn it off, unplug. Anyway, over the years, of course, they found ways to make the board the same size, sorry, not the same, do all the same things, but much smaller, I'm sure now. If they were going to do the same thing, well, it wouldn't be a drive, it would be some sort of memory card thing. But if it was going to be, I'm sure it would be much smaller, just like in the 1541-2. So it's funny, this thing screws in on one side, and then it has holes that it just sort of rests in, like these little dimply things. And you gotta get it, so, and then we'll put it all back together. And it's funny, at some point, I would like, maybe I mentioned this, there was a transactor cover that had, oh dear, a whole lot of disk drives on it, although most of them were dual disk drives. There was some singles in there, but at some point I'd like to try and recreate that. I don't think I have enough dual drives. Actually, I'm sure I don't. teamed with single drives of various sorts. I think I could do something like it, and actually the picture itself I don't think is actually, even if I had, oh dear, what's going on here? Anyway, even if I had enough of the dual drives, I don't think the picture is recreatable as it looked. Well, here's one thing with this thing here, this shield. There are wires here. You gotta make sure you don't pinch them. Anyway, I don't, as I say, I don't know if even though it was a drawing, sorry, it was not a picture, it was a drawing, that the piles of drives could be recreated without danger. But I would bet that somehow, sort of like a brick wall is put together, I could maybe even do better. Alright, so as they say, it is time to button it up. And the screws are still here on the top of the 1501. A wonderful monitor. It's funny, a fellow I saw at this gathering at the Computer Museum said that he bought one from somewhere or another, not like a TV player, I don't know if it was a Value Village or a electronics store or whatever, not that long ago, and the guy thought so highly of the monitor, which was 30 years old, and how it would not fail, that he even gave him a 90-day warranty on it. Yep. Actually, I don't believe that Commodore had anything to do with making the 1701. They probably just went to somebody and said, yo, we need a monitor, and had it made, but boy, they're good. There are very few that I've ever found that have just failed because something has failed. Sometimes they get a little wonky. I remember when I was in Florida, sometimes you'd have to take and I'm not good with monitors. There's a lot of voltage in there. I don't like them. But the flyback transformer would get, it would heat up a lot, and then the solder connections would get loose and others. So basically all you had to do was open it up, turn it over, get access to where you could see all this without having to touch much or anything, and just hit all the connections with solder, and it was already good. That was usually the times that you know it would be okay, kind of like the old TV where you say, well, just give it a little smack, and that would do it. Anyway, so that was usually how I fixed monitors, if that's what was wrong. And generally, even if a monitor was fine, there was always, that never hurt. And sometimes you could see little cracks in, I guess what they called a cold solder joint or whatever. Anyway, so there, I had six 1541's that would not read. Now I have 4 that won't, 2 that will. And that's all I have to say about that right now. So, if you're going to try, if you're having trouble with disk drive, 2 things, two that are very key. If you have the test demo disc, that's good, because it's probably, unless it's been ruined, but they're pretty stable and pretty fine. And if it won't read that, then there probably is something. But anyway, what you do, just to make sure, you put the test demo disc in. If it won't load the directory, and I don't know how many times I've used this to, once again, no charge, just to get people back in the game. Sometimes the drive just gets a little off. And there's no good reason, it just does. And there's no good reason that all the times that it bangs the head to try and get back in the game doesn't work, but it doesn't. Anyway, so you put it in the test demo disc, and you put in open 15, 8, 15, quote, I, the letter I, and a 0, and a quote, and a colon, and a close 15. And if the drive, however, has just become a little off and it just needs that little encouragement, it'll go off, it'll bang the head, and then suddenly it comes back, and instead of a flashing light, it just kind of blinks for a second, and it's like, okay, I got you. So I would bet over the years, probably 100 times or so, I've saved people with that, and once again, no charge. And I tell them that's what you do. Anyway, the other thing, of course, is, if you've seen what we've just done here, is, especially with discs these days, as they're getting old, somebody said they can actually grow microscopic mold. But anyway, to open up one of these, Phillips screwdriver, 4 screws takes the case off. If there's a shield, the big metal heavy shield in there, takes 2 screws to get that off. Always be careful. And if you're not comfortable doing this, don't do it. And then some rubbing alcohol. So I still can't topical. I don't know. Anyway. And a Q-tip of some sort. And that'll tidy up the head. And as I was doing it, I was sort of wiping it 10 times gently on the wet side, 10 times gently on the dry side. So if nothing else, if you're not afraid to, and you have drives that don't seem to work no matter what you do, give it a try. Mind you, these are drives that come on and appear to be fine. There are flash codes for these drives. I don't have them right handy, and we're not going to get into that today. But basically, if the drive comes on that looks like it's fine, and the power's up fine, and it does whatever it's supposed to do, it just won't read, try the open 15, 8, 15, quote, I, 0, quote, colon, close 15, with a test demo disc in it. If that doesn't work, Q-tip, rubbing alcohol, and see where it goes. And if you're still having trouble, drop me a message. So, I don't see Sheldon. That's about all I had to do right now. So, have a lovely day. I'm just going to turn out the light over here. And, oh, there we go. And the monitor. And that. And, we'll see you again.